I'm going to start off by going through the different anxiety disorders. Specific phobia, once called simple phobia. This is a fear, persistent fear that is excessive or unreasonable. Exposure to the phobic stimuli invokes a sense of anxiety or panic, and the person recognizes that fear is excessive or unreasonable. And the most common one I see coming in is people who have a fear of heights. Who's got a fear of heights there? All right, I'll see you later. Do you know what? You don't actually have a fear of heights. You actually have a fear of being on the edge. How can people who say they have this fear of heights can fly 35,000 feet in the air? If they had a fear of heights, they wouldn't be able to. If there was actual height itself, they wouldn't be able to do it. And of course, in an aircraft, you do not get a sense of the edge. People who have a fear of spiders, what are they really fearful of? What's going to happen to them if a spider comes out? Nothing's in fact going to happen, but they believe their life is indeed threatened by it. About 11% of the population have specific phobia of some kind. It's much more common in women than men. Women are more likely to have multiple phobias. They may have a fear of insects or a fear of heights or fear of water. Most common age of onset is between 13 and 16 years of old, but they certainly occur earlier in life. And they tend to compromise people's lives. Let me take a story of a patient of mine a little while ago who had a fear of spiders. Every day he would put rat sack right round the exterior of his house. Inside his house, the only chair he sat on was surrounded by rat sack in the hope that he was going to be safe from spiders. That was compromising his life significantly. If we look at the different types, animals, and it can be of all types. One of the most difficult animal phobias for a person to have, I think, is a fear of birds. And I've certainly treated those over the past, and they must avoid being in certain situations, fearful that they'll in fact be attacked by a bird. In the environment, heights, bridges, tunnels. Medical ones are interesting. They fear going to the doctor. They fear getting an injection. The fear of blood. Very common. A common patient coming on to see me is a man who's going to see the birth of his child. And they worry about how they'll react. Because with a fear of blood, they act very differently. They actually faint. Looked with the prevalence of specific phobia, natural environment, situational, animal, and blood and injury list the sort of types in their actual prevalence. And the most common natural environment one is probably to do with heights. Weather phobias are also very interesting. Who's got a fear of thunder and lightning here? Put your hands up. Yes, and you probably listen to the news and look at the sky far more often than most people would do. I've had people in the country with this phobia, and they just focus on the radio and on the television, and also they know so much about the weather, and they constantly ring the meteorological office asking, is there going to be a thunderstorm? Who in this room with the thunderstorm phobia has actually run the weather office at some stage? Perhaps you're too embarrassed, but it's very common behavior. As I said, people with one phobia typically go on to have another. 28% have one, 21% have two phobias, 3, 4, and multiple phobias are indeed common with these sort of people. And if you look at studies of what the amount of distress they call them, 93% actually causes them people with significant distress, and up to 25% actually comment that they go on to restrict activities of daily life in some sort of way. Comorbidity is the norm. 36% have a mood disorder, and look at this, 44% can have an alcohol problem. And people use alcohol, in fact, as a way of coping. And nicotine dependence is also particularly high.